What always surprised me was I probably had 100 people over the next couple of years. You know what I was doing when Arthur won Wimbledon? I can remember exactly when he won Wimbledon, it was sort of a moment in time that was very special to lots of people.
Control is very important to me. I am not emotionally very open. No, I'm not. But I don't think it's a crime.
As a young child, his dad would always tell him, "You don't get nowhere by making enemies. You gain by helping others."
You grow up black in the American South in the late 40s and the 50s, you have no control. White, segregationist laws tell you where to go to school, which bus you can ride on. Your life is proscribed.
After the death of his mother when he was 6, his dad gave him and his siblings discipline and values that would shape his incredibly successful and impactful life.
And then in the 60s, then you had black ideologues trying to tell me what to do.
But very few know the man. Very few know that he is the first ever open-era winner of one of the most prestigious sporting events in the world. Very few know how he became the face of a sport he was not allowed to play, that he wasn't supposed to play. When he won the US Open in 1968, his movement was so elegant.
Oh boy, when you call him Mr. Cool.
His form was impeccable.
Now that's got to be a lot of speed.
The power of his shots took the tennis world by storm. Tom Akker, the Dutch player that he defeated in the final, said the following about Ashe after the shocking defeat: "I just couldn't return the ball well against him because of his hard serve."
That's just as good.
5-4 for Ashe.
On his way to the finals, Ashe defeated Cliff Drysdale, a player from apartheid South Africa, that he defeated in 4 sets, foretelling of his deeds to come outside of the courts. But when he went on to win 2 more majors, including the most coveted prize in tennis, people understood it wasn't a fluke. What they didn't know is what made the man. They didn't know what he had to go through. Look at this shot here. Did you see it? Ashe serves in the corner. While Tom Akker is busy focusing on the difficulty of the kick serve, Ashe is already rushing the net, cutting off the obvious angles. He recognizes a short return early and adjusts in anticipation of the bounce. He notices from the corner of his eye that Tom is out of position, probably not recovered yet from the tricky serve that was thrown at him. So he decides to hit the ball at the other end of the court with a little bit of pace. Tom rushes, but the shot is too good, too far away from him. Tom runs, he lunges, throws himself at the ball, but he still can't return Ashe's perfectly placed shot. This shows how dominant Ashe's performance was, how calculated his moves were, how smooth the man was. And it all started early in his life when his dad gave him a piece of wisdom that would make him a champion in sport and a larger-than-life icon. Arthur Ashe's childhood began inside a park and under a watchful eye. Brook Field, Richmond's black recreation grounds, a little village of courts and cinder paths kept in immaculate order by his father, Arthur Robert Ashe Sr. The elder Ashe wore a uniform of duty, keys on his belt, rules in his pocket, and a quiet belief that a good name was worth more than any victory. He raised 2 boys there, Arthur and his younger brother, Johnny, on routines that laid the foundations of discipline for the young man and his family. Arthur's mother, Maddie, taught him to read before most children could tie their shoes, then died when he was 6. The hole her absence left never truly closed, but it shaped the boy's gentleness. He grew into a small, bespectacled child. After school, he helped his father. Even though he couldn't play, Arthur fell in love with the game at an early age. He spent countless hours watching those lucky enough to play. The older boys would hit the ball with the rhythm that became addictive to him. He supplemented his time by reading about the game, biographies, and tennis success stories. When Ron gave him a racket during the first lessons, he was so small and skinny that he recalled, "It was difficult to tell whether Arthur was dragging the racket or the racket was dragging Arthur." Charity's lessons were simple. Meet the ball in front, drive through with the shoulder, keep your head down. The boy was an extremely quick study. He mastered in days strokes that took others years to learn. But even more impressive was his acute court intelligence. It came naturally to him. He would often lose a few games and sometimes a set in order to learn the patterns and weaknesses of a player before completely destroying them in the later part of the match. His coach, Ron Charity, said in a 1969 interview, "He'll let you win the first 2 sets, then he'll blast you off the court."
To account if you're going to play somebody like Jimmy Connors. But you want to try to play to his weakness. In general, what you want to do is you must be able to control the middle. In most sports, the team or the person that dominates the middle is going to win.
The middle of what?
Middle
of the
period.
court, or
The middle period. Like in a football game. Next time you watch a football game, if the center and the two and the left and the right guard can do their job, you're going to win. You're going to move the ball.
Arthur's strokes began to smooth out, and with them, his sense of himself. Richmond, Virginia of the 1950s was a world where young black kids were not allowed in many of the facilities that Ashe needed to continue improving. Charity recognized that Ashe needed more than he could offer. So when Ashe turned 10, Charity introduced Arthur to Dr. Robert Walter Johnson of Lynchburg, a physician who ran a summer program that mixed excellent coaching with a strict code of conduct. Dr. Walter Johnson, who had transformed his early football career into that of a successful physician, had used his wealth and influence to help his community in more ways than one. Dr. Walter Johnson's program was so influential that it helped athletes like Althea Gibson rise to prominence, and Ashe would be next.
I want to introduce you to our Rona TV cameras, and tell us, you've got some other boys here in Lynchburg too, haven't you?
Yes, I have a couple of boys here today that won the men's doubles championship yesterday.
Arthur, what's the occasion? Explain.
We're here today to honor Dr. Johnson, my second teacher, my second most important teacher.
Play the ball, not the temper. Never show off. Never quit. In Johnson's backyard, practice began before the heat rose and ended long after dawn. Ashe struggled at first. His habits were set, his pride sore from correction. But when his father drove up and asked if he wanted to stay, he said yes. "Then do everything the coach says," his father replied. The change took. Arthur became the model pupil, watchful, precise, respectful, the kind of student who ran for balls and remembered every instruction. A small episode sealed the lesson. One day at Brookfield, after a frustrating miss, he let his racket fall in a small flare of anger. His father was beside him before it hit the clay. It never happened again. What looked like shyness to outsiders was a deliberate practice. He was learning to separate the heat of competition from the coolness required to play it well. It could not be fitting that the two most successful American players at the time were in fact polar opposites when it came to their behaviors. His temperament had been molded by his childhood training and discipline.
With anyone of my wanting to do and to control my life as I saw fit.
School mirrored the courts. At Baker Street School and later at Maggie L. Walker High, he was an A student who made teachers' jobs easier. The library felt like a second training ground, and his appetite for history and biography rounded out the tactical brain forming on the court. Still, Richmond's tennis limits were real. Many tournaments and clubs were restricted. Many opportunities existed elsewhere. So before his senior year, he did something brave for a quiet child. He left home. In St. Louis, he lived with the educator coach Richard Hudlin, who opened the doors Richmond would not: indoor courts for winter, integrated competition, a schedule dense with matches that hardened boys into players. The results announced themselves. He started winning, not with brute force, but with strategy and judgment, an early version of the style that would one day disarm the world's best. He took junior titles within the American Tennis Association, and from there, he kept winning. The National Junior Indoor Crown, the National Interscholastic Championship, to the point where the National Magazine published the articles, "Faces in the Crowd," a piece talking about his meteoric rise. In 1961, he graduated near the top of his class from Sumner High in St. Louis and accepted a scholarship to UCLA. This was fitting for a kid that brought his books to the tennis court so that he could get a couple of pages in between games. Ashe was a patriot. Unlike many other African-American figures at the time, he elected to go to the Army. Arthur Ashe entered the U.S. Army through ROTC at UCLA, and after commissioning in 1966, was assigned to West Point. By day, he worked on base. In the margins, he ran the Academy's tennis program, using the discipline of military life to sharpen his own game. The arrangement kept him near major events and let him compete while serving, exactly the balance he wanted as his career moved from college champion to world contender. His national call-up came even earlier. In 1963, while still a student, Ashe became the first black player selected for the U.S. Davis Cup team and won his debut in straight sets. Selection committees valued more than his shot-making. They prized his composure and coachability, traits that translate in team tennis where you carry a flag, not a name. To grasp what that meant, remember what the Davis Cup was then. Perhaps the best-known amateur international competition, contested under the old challenge round system, where the defending champion awaited a challenger in the final, a structure that helped Australia, drilled by Captain Harry Hopman, seize 15 of 18 titles from 1950 to 1967. In other words, to win the cup, you didn't just beat a team. You had to win against the unbeatable Australians. By late 1968, Ashe, now a lieutenant based at West Point and fresh off the inaugural open-era U.S. Open, was the Americans' point man. Sports Illustrated set the stakes, with pros, Roy Emerson, John Newcomb, Tony Roche no longer eligible. Hopman was forced to turn to greener names, and even he admitted, "Our chances don't look good. Ashe is the best amateur player in the world." The U.S. had depth, Lutz Smith in doubles, Graebner at second singles, and a clear plan under Captain Donald Dell. In Adelaide that December, the plan landed. Graebner ground out the opener. Ashe, as calm and poised as a man taking his morning constitutional, threaded past Ray Ruffles. Lutz Smith slammed the doubles, and Graebner closed 4-1 to pry the cup from Australia. Contemporary accounts were matter-of-fact about Ashe's role. Won easily over Ray Ruffles, wrote SI, but the larger shift was unmistakable. The officer-athlete's steadiness helped puncture the aura of Australia's dynasty and inaugurated an American run of titles. Although Ashe tried to stay away from the issue of race, in the USA's 60s and 70s, there was no way to escape his ethnicity. This also went beyond borders to South Africa.
It becomes convenient to exaggerate one's own fears and to help a neighbor increase hers.
My boy, he likes sports, and he used to go down there every Saturday with a few of the boys from the neighborhood. And there was an argument that occurred, something real silly. My boy and a colored boy got in an argument. Well, from that time on, for the whole remainder of the summer, the boy was afraid to get down there because the colored boys got a gang together. And every time they would get near my Jimmy, they would beat the devil out of him. I went to the principal and everything about it.
A major factor is fear.
Arthur Ashe was denied a visa to enter South Africa for 4 years, from 1969 to 1972, due to the country's apartheid policies. He was finally granted a visa in 1973 and competed in the South African Open. During that visit, he played in the South African Open, where he reached the singles final and won the doubles title.
I'd just like to say that as a foreigner, someone who takes a great deal of interest in the place, I think that repeated trips by the sportsmen, including us tennis players and other teams of the world, can go a long way toward normalizing relations between South Africa and the rest of the world. Thank you very much.
He got a lot of heat from African-American celebrities that were boycotting going to the country, but Ashe's rationale was simple. The young kids in South Africa needed to see that it was possible for a black person to succeed in a sport that they were denied. Because of his courage in the face of difficult social issues, because of his well-spoken nature, he would soon achieve heights seldom available to people of color in the 60s. Today, the ATP is the largest tennis body in the world. In fact, player rankings are tracked by the association. It also organizes most of the large tournaments in the sport. When we say a player is a professional today, it is based on the criteria set up by the ATP. Arthur Ashe played a significant role in setting up the ATP organization. He was also the organization's first elected president in 1974. This is akin to having a black man as NBA commissioner in the 70s. Truly groundbreaking, but it speaks to the immense wisdom and charisma that he displayed on the courts and in front of the microphone.
Right now, I have very few possessions, but not because I don't want them or wouldn't want to use them, but because there's no real need for them, logically. I don't have a car because I'm never in one place long enough.
What about clothes?
Clothes? No. Wouldn't have too many clothes because you're only... Tennis players never travel first class internationally. You're only allowed 20 kilos.
And just like many things that Ashe did, it was not understood right away. But his impact is now clearly visible in a sport where black people have been underrepresented. And today, the field is strong with many black players. From the likes of Townsend, Goff, Mboko, Tiafo, Shelton, Monfils, Osaka, Williams. They have all brought grit, originality, and crowd appeal in a sports where ratings is as important as winning.
Can you believe it? Incredible time!
Even the legendary Williams sisters speak of Arthur Ashe's and Althea Gibson's influence.
Althea Gibson, I remember reading how she had to sleep in a car because they wouldn't let her sleep in the hotel. And yeah, a lot of people would have quit. I probably would have quit. I wouldn't have wanted to deal with all that negativity just because my skin is darker than someone else's.
One of the players who had long been in opposition of what Ashe was doing was none other than Jimmy Connors. He had categorically refused to join the ATP, but further to that, he had handed 2 close defeats to Ashe in both of his trips to South Africa, in 1973 and 1974. So by the time the 1975 Wimbledon finals came along, the two had already clashed many times on the courts and in their ideological stances. But Ashe knew that he needed to do something different to beat Connors, and this is where the old advice from his dad came in handy. You don't get nowhere by making enemies. You gain by helping others. And because of all the help he had provided others, because of all the devotion he had also shown other players, the night before the finals, his fellow players stayed with him and provided him counsel on what to do to defeat Connors. And to win, Ashe would not only have to beat Connors the legend, he would also have to play well enough away from the lines to avoid egregious line calls against him.
Arthur Ashe, looking at the linesman, thought it was out. The crowd thought so.
Quiet, ladies and gentlemen, please.
Ashe understood the task at hand, a task all too familiar for people of African descent who have to compete. You have to work twice as hard to get the same result. Thanks to his upbringing, which helped him learn control, he put aside his anger and played even better tennis. But Ashe had already done his homework before the match. He had built a persona that the public really loved, and playing with the crowd supporting him felt more than a home field advantage. So even when the umpires were calling the lines against him, the public was showing their disappointment at the calls and their support for Ashe. So much so that on that day, they reversed the egregious call, something that is unheard of in tennis.
The linesman has deferred his call. The ball was out, game to Ashe.
But what really changed the match was Ashe's complete change of strategy against Connors. He changed the pace of his shots intentionally and used more angles. Connors had to cover an ungodly amount of ground to get to the balls, which means he wasn't able to set and hit his usual power shots. Very soon, Connors was getting very frustrated. Ashe, on the other hand, was serene. He would even close his eyes and meditate during the changeovers.
And the press is going crazy. They're saying he's meditating. What's he thinking about? Must be a poem or, you know.
Connors had no chance against this sort of form. Just like Aker before him, he found himself hitting the ground multiple times trying to return some of Arthur Ashe's shots.
certainly that was a very, very important one. Championship
when he
points
won, he
for
didn't
Arthur
make a
Ashe.
lavish celebration. He just raised his fist in the air, victorious.
That's it, and he's done it. He really has done it.
Science. I mean, when you overcome the kinds of odds that Black folks have had to overcome in so many arenas, it's just something that you feel very strongly.
And here he is, at last, the Wimbledon champion.
You didn't give him too much pace, and you mixed it up. You lobbed well, and you played with such perfect tactical acumen in those first two sets. You had it under control, didn't you?
You must know what you're looking at, Peter.
It is a measure of the man that this win was only a stepping stone towards his larger goal in life, and the words that he spoke about the meaning of this victory are also telling of his ability to have perspective. There is a tradition that the male winner of Wimbledon will dance with the female winner of Wimbledon. It so happens that in 1975, the winner of the ladies' championship was none other than Billie Jean King. And for the occasion, Billie Jean, beaming and smiling at the opportunity of dancing with the most handsome of champions, decided to wear an afro. This produced this iconic picture of the two American champions embracing in their dance for eternity. The handsome prince of tennis would eventually marry, and he would marry to Jean Mutusamy Ashe, a prominent photographer, a lady whose beauty and brawn matched his. But for all his success, it was his heart that failed him first. A family condition caused his dad to have 6 heart attacks. And at the young age of 36, Ashe had a heart attack, and so started a long journey of discovering the limit of his health. Limits that would soon be redefined in a way he wasn't expecting. He had 2 heart operations and couldn't play the game he had grown to love. And so, when he was appointed captain of the American Davis Cup team, it was fitting. The calm and collected Ashe, providing oversight and counsel for 2 of the most fiery and emotional players the game had known, Jimmy Connors and the young John McEnroe. The combination of these larger-than-life figures made TV tennis ratings explode.
McEnroe wanted them to hurry up and get back into action, but Ashe ordered McEnroe to stop arguing with them and get back to his place.
And under his tutelage, the American Davis Cup team won in 2 successive years. After the elation, Arthur Ashe was again treated for a heart attack, and during this treatment, he was infected with the HIV virus. African Americans have suffered a great deal in America after the abolition of forced servitude. It will be claimed that there was no planning behind the high rate of HIV infection of the Black American population in the 80s, a rate which at the time they attributed to promiscuity amongst Black people, as if other ethnicities were immune to human sexual urges. But when you take into account the multiple other examples of intentionally infecting Black communities with deadly pathogens in American history, and there are many, when you take that into account, you come to realize that this HIV episode too had all the hallmarks of intentional contamination. And Arthur, a figure who without his early passing away would have been far too electable as a president well before Obama, became one of the many incredible souls that we lost to this horrendous disease. In 1997, 14 years after his passing away, the largest stadium in the sport of tennis was built in his honor. A modern-day coliseum where 23,000 people, a good deal of them celebrities, can experience the best of tennis, under the tutelage and oversight of the great one, Arthur Ashe.
Arthur would have been the forerunner to Obama. I really do mean that. He would have run for office. And I've said this in writing and speeches. And I mean, America, we lost a great person in Arthur. He was special. And America lost a great person. You know what I was doing when Arthur won Wimbledon? I can remember exactly when he won.
And he often came home and said there had been trouble between them during the day at school.
Has only one weak spot, and that's his low forehand passing shot or approach shot. And
If you enjoyed the video, please hit that like button like Arthur Ashe hits his forehands.
Oh boy, when you call him Mr. Cool.
McEnroe wanted them to hurry up and get back into action, but Ashe ordered McEnroe to stop arguing with them and get back to his place.
This match, but she might be on the court when Serena loses it.
I am a huge proponent of the value for value model. If you find value in our work, I would be grateful if you could return that value in any way you can, by clicking the like button, sharing the video, or donating the equivalent of a cup of coffee. Without History does not accept sponsorship deals so that we can remain independent. You can support our work by joining our Patreon and other support. You will find the links in the description. Join us and see how those who are said to be without history birth civilization itself.